listen, and enjoy. Welcome back to the Stockwell Roche Show. Jason Stockwell, Remax Results.
Josh Roche, Remax Results.
We are talking about the importance and the importance of a home inspection, but also how it is not portrayed or viewed as important. It's taken lightly many times in a transaction. So, and we have Don Doty in studio, Matty B, and Ben Nelson. And we were just going to walk you through. So let's just walk through a scenario here and then start from there. Let's say you are a home seller and you sold your home.
Sold it. It's gone.
Well, you have your home on the market.
Okay. And you're under contract.
And you're under contract. So you got a buyer that came, you listed your price at X price, and you came to terms. Now you're like, whew, sold.
Yep.
Post it on Facebook. Tell everybody, the friends, we sold our house. Let's put a picture with a sold sign and everything, right? Then what happens next? You as a seller don't really have to do anything. You're just kind of waiting because now all the work goes on the buyer's agent, the buyer, the buyer's lender, and hopefully the buyer's inspector. So the buyer then is the first step in the process. They're already pre-approved if they've got an offer on your house, hopefully, right?
Yep. But sure
Well, let's hope so.
And the lender then starts the process, gets the purchase agreement, starts the process of going through getting the loan through. Then the buyer does an inspection to make sure that they want to move forward with the house. Now I say that want to move forward with the house.
You should probably rewind that too before putting in that offer, though. You should always make sure you're getting that inspection contingency.
Inspection contingency.
Yeah. So they have an inspection contingency on the purchase agreement. So you're the seller, the buyer's inspection contingency. Then the buyer is doing the inspection, and typically there's so many ways around. I mean, there's so many ways through this, but that can be bad for sellers, bad for buyers. But the purpose of the inspection, in my opinion, is to find out whether you want to move forward with a house. Typically,
in the mortgage side of things, once we get we start a transaction for somebody, we get them pre-approved, they get a purchase agreement signed.
You don't order anything.
I gather all their documents, and we don't order a darn thing until that inspection's back because there could be an issue.
Because they could walk out. Now, a lot of people use the inspection, and I know agents do this, and actually tell their buyers this. Let's use the inspection because we were in multiple offers on Josh's listing, and we had to bump up $5,000. Let's use the inspection, go back, and then maybe we can get the seller down based on the inspection. This is said before the inspection even happens, folks.
That happens a lot.
Not good, because you're going with a plan just to go for a reduction before you even get, and find out what's wrong with the house.
Well, another thing, too, with that inspection contingency, it actually kind of saves your earnest money as well as a buyer. As a buyer putting in there, because if something comes back and you guys can't negotiate the problems that you find on the purchase, it allows that buyer to get out of the contract and get its earnest money.
Yeah, so a buyer has the inspection.
That's why it's so important.
And they have an inspection, and any inspector is never going to come back. Don, have you ever come back and done an inspection on any house in how many years of experience?
24.
24 years. Have you ever done an inspection on a house and sent a report or inspection report to the buyer and it was blank? Nothing wrong. This house is absolutely perfect. I found nothing wrong.
No, I don't think I've ever had one.
Okay.
Totally perfect.
Close, but right? There's always something.
Yeah, there's
right?
always going to be something.
Right. There's always something.
Even brand new homes.
Yeah.
Yep. So there's something wrong with your house. So then the buyer gets that inspection report, and then it's up to the buyer's agent to determine. Now do we go now because it ain't over yet? I mean, you go to the seller and say, hey, now we want you to fix X, we want you to fix Y, or we want you to reduce price by a certain amount, or you know what? There's a lot wrong with this. We want to cancel, or worse yet. Your neighbor's house just went up for sale, and it's $10,000 cheaper.
And they're buying that now.
And we want to buy that one, so we're going to cancel yours. But will you be told that?
No.
Heck no, you won't be told that. So, because they don't have to disclose to you why they're canceling due to inspection. So, as a seller, I hate to say it, but in Minnesota, as a seller, you have very little protection once your house goes under contract.
Right.
All the favor is in the hands of the buyer, and all the control is in the hands of the buyer for the inspection. And also for the mortgage. And the earnest money is really hard and difficult to keep unless you have a very experienced and diligent agent on the listing agent side to help you. But you also don't want to lose that buyer by making it. I mean, it's a very complicated process.
It's still a negotiation process. It's because you guys have agreed on a contract on a price. It doesn't mean that price is solid yet until after that inspection is taken place.
So I have a question. As a seller, we're talking about the seller side of it. Don, in your opinion, should they have an inspection prior to putting their home on the market?
Should I sell
Because this is tricky too. So,
Well,
because if you're listening, you're thinking, well, I'll just do an inspection first. I'll know what's wrong with my house. Then the buyer comes through. They shouldn't be worried about anything.
I do what's called seller inspections. Not to be said of a truth in housing. Truth in housing has to be done. But a truth in housing is an apple. A buyer inspection is an orange. So if I'm going to do a seller's inspection, it's about a 20-page form, and I explain it to the seller, the homeowner. And I say, I found X, Y, and Z. They decide, okay, I'll fix X, Y, but not Z. So then when a buyer comes and a real estate agent, the real estate agents will look at my report. I hate to say it, but most agents know who I am. They're going to know that I'm fairly good at what I do, and they're probably going to accept that. Where a lot of people will do a seller's inspection, these agents never heard of the person, the inspector before.
That's a ringing
They're
bell
going
and
to
a
blow
red
it off.
flag for
They're going to
me.
blow it off and say, "Forget it. We're going to get our own person in there." So I do seller's inspections. I do quite a few of them, and I try to bring out everything, cracks in the sidewalk, just so that people know that I've looked.
Yeah, that makes
Right.
sense. And so I've heard of both sides of it. Do a seller's inspection because you'll know and you can fix it yourself. And also, you can also have a report handy for the buyer. The reasons I've heard people say I don't want to do that is because I don't want to know what's wrong, because then now I'm
Right. Then
liable
I'm
for it.
financially right.
And I have to disclose it if something's wrong. But it's better to over disclose than to not disclose.
And
but
Don's
if
right.
you don't know,
Right. And Don's right, because you're going to have different inspectors have different opinions on what's going on with the house as well. Correct?
Well, yeah, correct. We shouldn't have different opinions. If you're a licensed inspector, we have guidelines.
Right.
We have
Yeah.
strict guidelines that we have to follow, Monday through Friday. We have to follow them. And if we don't follow them, we could reprimand it and even could lose our license. So there shouldn't be a big range out there. There is, though.
And that's the buyer. I'm talking about the buyer's thinking, because if there is a seller inspection done, they're going to think, oh, okay, this guy's representing the seller.
Yeah.
We need to get our
sometimes, and they may take it. So I have a question about insurance. Ben Nelson, Farmers Insurance. You guys ever
Do inspections?
Well, you guys, yeah,
own. You got to do your own inspections.
Yeah, we do inspections. Actually, every house that we insure gets inspected twice. So I have to go out there as the agent, and I have to look at it as well, kind of for the first thing to see if this house is even eligible. And then they send out a third-party company to make sure that, as the agent, we did our job and listed it all correctly. We're not looking nearly as in-depth as you are for the home buying or selling process. What we're looking for, basically, is the roof good, all the siding intact, and then basically we're looking for missing handrails, things like that could be liability exposures. Sliding glass doors on the back of houses without a deck.
Oh.
Those have to be secured so they can't be open.
Yep.
Basically, to protect the insured that we're bringing into
Right.
farmers so that they don't have any exposure.
So, what are the most common defects, Don?
Well, let's talk about Minnesota. The state of Minnesota, we're a cold state, right? It snows here. What are some of the things that we need to look out for inspections?
Inspections?
For living here in the state of Minnesota.
I probably write up more furnaces than any home inspector in the state. I think that a furnace, like when I used to do the code inspections for St. Louis Park, of course they do their own now, we used to write up any furnace that was older than like 16 years old or showed signs of overfiring, corrosion, and about 50% of all my houses that I write up on the furnaces, they don't pass. So that means there's a lot of people breathing carbon monoxide in every day. So that's a real common one. So if you're listing your house, get a licensed heating contractor. Believe it or not, we still have inspectors doing their own CO tests on furnaces. Can you believe that?
An inspector does a CO test?
Yeah. Not a licensed heating contractor, a home inspector. I can't believe it.
And once again, that's somebody who could have just printed off a $25 set of business cards and said, hey, I'm a home inspector.
Bart Simpson.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's a real issue in this state.
Furnace number is
furnace is number one.
Number one, yeah.
And I just think that there's electrical, of course. You know, if it's still back 60 amp Naumann tube, it probably should be upgraded. What constitutes a 60 amp to be upgraded to 100 amp is if there's more than 2 major appliances on that 60 amp. What's a major appliance? Electric kitchen stove, AC, electric dryer, and electric water heater.
All are major?
All are major.
So that's a tip. Check your furnace if you're selling or buying for sure. Yep. We'll be back soon talking new construction. Looking out for you.